Hey folks, welcome to week 7 of DMD410 Digital Media Design Portfolio. All right, let's take a look at the week 7 module. Lots of stuff going on this week. All right, so this week is our week 7 overview, of course, and we are focusing on revisions of our self-branding identity system. So up until this point, you guys have created and critiqued and worked on a number of deliverables that fall under the sort of broader category of self-branding identity system. This week, you're going to be finishing those up, and you guys are going to be partaking in our third discussion board, where you're going to be showing what you have accomplished in that area and giving each other feedback for sort of final assessment and revision to just sort of wrap these up and get them finished. So we are hoping everybody can sort of put on their critiquing hats and really give each other some sort of rich, thoughtful, and detailed feedback on your self-branding identity system. Now, the third discussion is going to be open for a while. It's going to be open this week and then well into next week. Because you have some due dates coming up this week. Like at the end of this week, your digital resume is due, which we'll talk about in a second, and that is sort of part of the collection of items that you're going to be taking a look at. Now, just take a quick look at discussion 3. So again, everything from your domain name to your logo design to the style guide that you created for your identity system. And then we had the 2 optional items of digital business card and digital letterhead, which you may or may not have completed depending on how much extra work you were doing on content for your portfolio. And then the digital resume, which is due at the end of this week. All of these are considered and fall under the category of your self-branding identity system. So we're sort of finishing up this section of the class, this section of the semester, with a robust critique of all of these from myself and your classmates. So for this week's discussion board, you're going to post all of your in-progress self-branding identity system deliverables, and you're going to get some final critique and feedback on them. And this feedback you get is going to sort of help inform how you finalize each of these, at least for this class. As I've said over and over again, you are going to be continuing to evolve your self-branding identity system over time, but for the purposes of this class, we will be finishing up here. So the story you are trying to tell yourself and your work, basically. So that's sort of what that's all about. So once you post all those, write up a couple of paragraphs to go with the items you're posting that really sort of give all of us a reminder, an overview of that narrative that you are trying to tell about yourself, so that this way, all your classmates and myself, we can take a look at the items that you've posted, your domain name, your logo design, your style guide, business card letterhead, and your digital resume, and we can assess, gee, do these all feel like they're part of the same narrative? Do they feel like they're telling the same story? Did you make visual choices, typographic choices, content choices that make sense for that story you're trying to tell, okay? Then, of course, once you've got your initial post up, the goal in participating in this week's discussion is to review your classmates' self-narrative and review the deliverables that they are sharing. And, of course, give them some really good subjective and objective feedback, right? Subjective questions to consider when you are looking at each other's work is, does the logo design feel appropriate for the narrative you're trying to tell? Why or why not? Is their logo expanded upon and developed into their identity system style guide in a way that makes sense? Why or why not? Is the logo and identity system style guide applied professionally in an engaging way to any other deliverables that they might have created? Right? Why or why not? And does their choice of domain name help contribute to the telling of that narrative? And how does it contribute to that telling of the narrative? And of course, be sure to offer some critique on the objective areas, such as how well did they use color, how well did they handle typography, their layout skills, the general craft and readability of everything. Okay, the final versions of yourself branding identity system are not due until the end of week 8. We are in week 7, so like I said, this discussion is going to stay open all week this week and all week next week, which will give you guys plenty of time to participate in the discussion, give each other some really good feedback, and then go make some revisions to your pieces based on that feedback. All right, so that's the discussion. That is probably one of the most important things to get rolling on this week. Meanwhile, like I said, directly related to that, your digital resume is due at the end of this week. Now, of course, A week ago or so, we started with the digital resume. We had the folks from Career Services come and talk to us and sort of give us their feedback on it. And of course, lots of input from both the announcement for the class that I put up, as well as this here assignment. Lots of videos to watch, lots of feedback on how best to create it. Now, you're going to want to get feedback, if you haven't already, on your resume from the folks at Career Services. So either of these two people here, which would be fabulous. Make sure that they already know that we're looking for their feedback. They're involved with us here, so take advantage of it. Make sure you get your digital resume to them early. And of course, we talked quite a bit last week in the announcement about the types of resumes we're creating and how to create them, and why, of course, there are 3 versions of your resume, right? An interactive page that will live on your promotional website, no matter what platform you're using, a typographically designed, downloadable, and email-ready PDF, which is something that you would use sort of once you already get an interview and you have the opportunity to put it in front of somebody or email it to somebody directly, and a really simple Microsoft Word document version of a resume, which can be read by resume readers, computers, etc., just to sort of help get you in the door for the initial interview, or the initial application, I should say. So 3 versions of your resume. We talked last week about why we need 3 versions, because it's a complex world, but you get the idea. So that is due at the end of this week. If you need any help with that, if you're stuck, you can certainly check in with me, but absolutely take advantage of these folks here in Career Services. They are waiting to hear from you, so share your resume with them and get some feedback, okay? Okay, next, the major consumable this week are the portfolio content requirements. So now that we are finishing up our self-branding identity system, we are going to shift our focus to actually building your portfolio, your online portfolio, a print-ready portfolio, etc. So this is sort of, phase 3 of the whole semester, as it were. And so before we dive into creating that portfolio, we need to be very clear on what the portfolio content requirements are. So this link here will take you to the portfolio content requirements. Now, I'm not going to go over all of them right now here in this lecture. We are going to go over them together in person, but I wanted to point it out to you here because I want you to take time to read through this so that you are somewhat familiar with it, and that the first time you see these content requirements is not when we go over it in class. There's a lot of stuff here, and it's kind of complex, so I don't want you to be caught flat-footed on it, so be sure to read through this, okay? There's an overview, general requirements, some frequently asked questions that should hopefully answer some of the questions you might have, some links to some outside sources for creating mock-ups, some advice on how to best display the work, advice for laying out the printed portfolio, so on and so on and so on. So anyway, we'll go over all this stuff in person, but I really need you to read through it in advance so that you are clear on what's expected for the remainder of the semester, okay? All right, so that's it for right now. Go get that stuff finished up. Be sure to finish up the resume, contribute all those items to the discussion board, get involved in a discussion, and then take some time to really go over these portfolio content requirements, okay? All right, if you need me, you know where to find me. Email me, Zoom office hours, and I will see you soon.